You're welcome back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. And before I let you have that information that was given us by the EC boss herself, let me bring to your attention that I understand that in respect of the first issue that we looked at and touching and concerning the Justice Derry committal process against, two reporters of the editors of the Daily Crusading Guide newspaper, Bolare, Suleimana Brahima, and one other is it. I understand that on that issue, in fact, the case was slated for the day on which it was heard. So it is just the lawyers for Justice Derry and co who did not make themselves available. So they have themselves to blame. That's the information that is coming through to me from very reliable sources. Nonetheless, when you read the appeal that has been filed by Justice Derry on his behalf by his lawyers, you find that they make the point that the case was not slated to be heard on that day. And in fact, that is the reason they have appealed to the Chief Justice to investigate that. So let's see how that pans out. Now, let's hear the EC boss on the question of the new voters register.
So far, as at our September 22nd deadline, we have received a little over 30 submissions. 30. I think 15 political parties made submissions. The rest of the submissions came from civil society organizations. We had some from faith-based organizations. We had some from IT companies and private individuals, and a couple were anonymous. Now, as a commission, we are going to evaluate these proposals, and we're also investigating the allegations which have been made by some political parties, especially when it touches on the integrity or the security of our IT systems. We are getting independent outside expertise to help us look into those allegations. But while we're doing that alongside, we are also evaluating all the submissions we've received, particularly submissions towards cleaning up of the register. And we're going to put a team together to look into this. Our plan is that at the end of October, in the last week of October, we would be having a forum at which the media would be invited, political parties, civil society organizations, other stakeholders and state institutions would also be invited, and then we can all engage. Parties can make presentation, other people who have submitted presentations and we think that there's value in it would also be invited to make presentations, and we can all engage, and hopefully we can find some reach consensus or come to some resolution on the issue of the voters register. But as a commission, we do not believe that this should be a partisan matter. We do not think that it is a decision that must be taken by political parties. And indeed, we do not believe as a commission that there are only binary positions to be considered, as in register is okay, new register. We think that there's a lot of value in also the listening to all the views within the spectrum. So we're listening to all that, and we're engaging parties. We'll engage them as a collective and as individual parties. We'll also get independent technical expertise to come and support us in that process of evaluating what the concerns really are with the register and how we can all together work towards having a more credible register and a more credible electoral system.
That is Charlotte Osei, who is the EC chairperson, speaking right after the IPAC meeting, correct? Right. So what's the point now about the call for a new register when IT experts are going to scrutinize that document and fix whatever may be wrong with it? Let me hear from Nana first. I promise you I'll read your messages. They are messages that my production have just brought to me about the issues we have discussed earlier. Yes.
Well, thank you. Something, it looks like the EC seems to be making some movement on the issues about the new voters register. But I have problems. It's like there's a lot of movement, but you don't see the motion. People, no, because parties were asked to submit. I mean, first the NPP took a petition to the Electoral Commission detailing many discrepancies and difficulties with the register. I had expected the Electoral Commission to say, well, we've got these discrepancies that you've pointed out. And the discrepancies were not just general statements, they were specific statements. We said that there were cross-border registrations which should not be there. We said that there were bloating in some constituencies which cannot be consistent with any statistical possibilities and so on. So we expected a technical team appointed by the EC to go into the matter. That we say there are over 70,000 cross-border. Can it be verified? Is it verifiable? We say that there are bloatings that cannot be supported statistically. Is it true? I didn't hear any appointment of such a team to verify the discrepancies pointed out by the NPP. What I heard was that other political parties to submit their opinions. I mean, if 1 + 1 is supposed to be 2, and then somebody says, I have discovered that the answer to 1 + 1 is 3, what you have to do is check to see, is it true that the answer submitted to 1 + 1 is 3? But if you see people should bring their opinions, I have a little difficulty. But anyway, that was what was asked for by the EC. So come 22nd September, other parties are supposed to have submitted their take on the issues raised by the NPP. Then from the press conference that you've just shown us, I got the impression that the Electoral Commission is saying that at the end of October, there's going to be some symposium where political parties that have already submitted their opinion have to come and make oral presentation. That's the impression I got. I may be wrong, but when you were showing it, I got the impression that there's going to be some symposium where many people are going to be invited and people will discuss the matter. You know, so it seems to me that the urgency that is needed to be brought onto this matter doesn't seem to be present. I may be wrong, but that is the impression that I am getting. You know, that the tangible steps that need to be taken to deal with specific issues raised by a political party. Is
there a reason you support those causes that appear to want to stampede the EC in this process?
Oh, no. As for the demonstration, like I said to my brother over there, submitting a petition does not exclude you. Indeed, when the NPP submitted a petition to the Electoral Commission, they came straight to a press conference to put the issue. So if somebody were to say to me, oh, but if you've already gone and submitted a petition, why come and hold a press conference? The two activities...
You've heard the position of the NDC, even though now they are seeking to say that they are amenable to revise their position a bit. They are saying that the document can be cleansed without necessarily replacing it.
You see, the difficulty with the NDC position, Samson, is this. They have shown tremendous bad faith and mischief. See, in 2008, the NDC complained about bloating of the register in some constituencies in Ashanti. And then they also said that at that time, the 52 or 53% voter register population ratio was unheard of. On those bases, a new register was compiled in 2008. Now, the current register, everybody agrees. The Electoral Commission agrees. All the political parties, NDC, NPP, everybody agrees that there's a problem with the current register. So, to arrive at that conclusion, it means you have some basis. Something. You have some. The NDC has some basis for their claim that the register, there are difficulties with the register.
The NDC has shown you.
Let me just finish.
Processes by which all parties have assisted the EC in pruning the register.
Okay, I'm saying to you that the NDC, they have their basis for concluding that the register is faulty. The NPP too, we have also agreed that the register is faulty. We also have our basis. So we are adding our basis to the basis of the NDC. You see? Then what do they say? They say, oh, as for you, Your basis is wrong. What you are doing is tribalism. What you are doing is you want to rig the elections by getting a chance to register minors. You see, so immediately it puts into question the argument. Because
but it is equally bad that you seem to be heard to say that your position is non-negotiable. It's the only way out.
When Bawumia, I have the copy of Bawumia's presentation, I can give it to you. Bawumia never stated anywhere. Even though Bawumia was 100% sure that the findings that have been made are correct, he still was saying that these are indicative because he wanted it to be subject to verification. I mean, if somebody in the heat of a radio discussion says something. So, I mean, Professor Mills in 2008 told us that the register was bloated, and if nothing was done about it, Ghana was going to be like Kenya. We just took it as, you know, things in the heat of it. But the official position of the NPP was presented by Bawumia. Now, if we've presented what we believe are evidence to support the belief that the register is faulty, and you too, you have your own basis, why do you accuse us of, oh, you don't like these people, that, you know, you are just making excuses for you to, meanwhile, you yourself, you've agreed that the register is faulty. The only point of departure is what do we do about it? That's all.
The EC has given you a roadmap. We want to bring in an IT expert to look at this process.
Yeah. I'm saying that I told you that it looks like some movement is being done. I believe that some of these things could have been done much earlier, Samson, because the NPP submitted this petition months ago. And then there was 1 month, say everybody submit theirs, and then they say there's going to be an open symposium in another 1 month's time, and so on. So it gives the impression, it doesn't give the impression of urgency. That's my frank.
Interesting.
So
now
I believe that
the CPP also appears to say that, yes, we need to change the register completely. There are those who argue that we don't have time and everything else, and that there's no money. And look, we cannot be changing the register every 4 years. Let's stick to what we have now, but focus on how to take out the problems it has.
Samson, we need a new register. We do. Because I'm asking, at all cost. If you're enjoying this peace, it's because people have tended to believe in what we had before. And therefore, they went out to vote, and they accepted results. And even that sent us to court, sent this country back 8 months that we're suffering from. I'm asking the IT company, is the IT company that the EC is going to come with going to be able to detect the foreigners? That's question number one. Who's a Ghanaian? Are they going to be able to tell us who are the non-Ghanaians on the list? And then you're talking about minors. When we do pick out the minors, are we going to prosecute them? Because those minors that you're going to pick out, if they really do exist, are matured now to vote. Are you getting me? Then you come to the overbloating, where people have registered more than multiple times, let's just say multiple times. You're going to find them also out there, especially when we do know that a lot of them registered with the NHIS card. So now, most of us don't have the national ID card. Yeah? So we're going to have to go back and rely on our voter ID cards. Those ones that were gotten illegally. Now, how are we going to, get around that? So I believe that if we really want the peace of this country, it is better for us to find the money to have a new voters register than for us to go to an election that will come out and people will not be satisfied and we will end up where we don't want to be.
This register produced election results that have not plunged this country into chaos. So what is the problem now?
This register has sent us to court for 8 months. It took some person or persons and Ghanaians, the right of thinking to say we are one people, we will accept it as it is. My former chairman.
No, it is a court that pronounced that those allegations that were being made.
But if Ghanaians had gotten up and said no, that would have been a different story altogether, regardless of what. We have seen places where people have come out, the court has come out to declare, and still people march on the streets. Brings chaos. But all I'm saying is that register needs to be changed. And you see, it's all this idea of wanting to win at all costs. We should stop that attitude of wanting to win at all costs, and therefore, when we see wrong, we still insist it's right.
Interesting. Now, the IEA...
See, there's a certain track record that the NDC should watch out for. because you're talking about the NDC, right from day one, all the improvements that were suggested were resisted by the NDC. Even transparent ballot boxes, they said they wouldn't have money. They had to take the donors.
Okay.
Even photo ID card, they went to court. You know,
Okay.
so there's a certain track record that the NDC should be keen to improve. It's bad.
Interesting there. Maybe I'll hold on with you briefly. Let me go to Kweku. Kweku, when you hear all the parties, there are a lot of people, just hold on briefly, there are many people who seem to suggest that the political posturing, particularly of the MPP that suggests, and what Rodling just said, I mean, what they are saying is no more a proposal. It is you take this or we are not having what you're giving us. That's one. What do you say? People say that posturing and everything else is spoiling the beauty of the argument for a new register.
We are only saying that they must find the money because we don't believe that an IT company can take out the non-Ghanaians.
All right.
For my part, that's what I believe in.
Okay. Kweku, what do you say?
Well, that posturing is not new in terms of the evolution of electoral reforms in Ghana. The history is there. Look, I tell you, 1992, between 92 to 94 or 5, the Electoral Commission was virtually under siege by those of us who were in opposition, as we were agitating for electoral reforms, with the NDC then more or less against the reforms as Akwamia indicated, but on the side of the EC. Post that, roles reversed. So the EC has always been under serious pressure from the political stakeholders. I'm not about to exclude myself as a political activist who belong to the political parties. We've all done that over the years. We are at a new phase, and the posturing remains the same. It hasn't changed. Maybe they come with different levels of intensity, but it's consistent. Look, the NPP submitted its package or made a submission. I recall the EC said all other parties should bring submissions, not exactly in response to the MPP thing as such, but also on the electoral
voters register.
On the voters register. So the MPP has specific allegations, of course. You were entitled, you could decide to react to some of those things in your proposals or submissions, but generally on the voters register. And they gave a deadline of September 22nd, if I recall. Come September 22nd, around that period, they've indicated that 30 groups, including 15 political parties, have submitted proposals, and they've pushed to October. They have a timetable they've put out there. I appreciate the anxiety that is being exhibited across the political divide. Those who think that the thing is too slow, those who think there is some delay, because if you look at the time for elections, which is next year, so there's some legitimate basis for anxiety. But at the same time too, I think progress is being made, in my candid opinion. See, the last press conference, they held an IPAC meeting, then there was a press conference that brought out some indicators. The key ones for me is this question of the IT, the EC boss put it this way, independent outside expertise. I've been doing my own checks, running around trying to, eavesdrop and all the rest, and a bird whispered into my ears, and this bird is within the diplomatic community, that, look, when it comes to the voters register, I am aware, and I haven't verified with any EC source, so maybe this is a bit speculative. There's been a long-standing collaboration between the UNDP and the EC. It's long-standing and it's well documented. From my own sources within the diplomatic community, it appears the expert on the voters register will be emanating from a UNDP support. I don't see why anybody should be overly concerned about this. My sister asked about whether they can dictate the foreigners and things. me, as I said here, the key thing is this question about scanned pictures having been used to infiltrate the system. Yes, the expert, they will have the expertise that can show if that is true. And don't forget, that thing is targeted at people who we think are ineligible to vote as Ghanaians. So yes, it's there. I'm also told by the same diplomatic source that the EU also will be offering support in terms of consultant of a sort for the other areas, not just the voter register. All these things are positive developments. It's within the time constraint available to us. So you see, we need a certain level of patience and self-restraint, a certain level of goodwill across the divide. I think we are coming to the conclusion that the register must be credible. That one is a bottom line. If you don't have a credible register, if you don't have a register with integrity, then we can compromise our democracy, not just the results, but the entirety of the architecture, the democratic architecture. So for me, I'm cool. I think that, yes, I agree. Those who are anxious have legitimate basis. Those who think there is slow motion are legitimate basis. But I appeal to them also to exercise some level of self-restraint.
Briefly from Dr. Jampo.
Well, I think Poku has said it all. That's why I said earlier on that going into an election with trust deficit with the election management body that is going to conduct elections, for me, is dangerous for our peace. And so we don't have to undermine overtures aimed at rebuilding trust. Yes, those who are saying we need a fresh, let's take note that it was the NDC's, MPP's petition that led to the call for a fresh voters register. But others also said that no, keep the existing one and let it be pruned. They premised their demand, I mean, to sum everything, they are saying that, look, it's been compromised to the point that it becomes, if you want to prune it, it becomes sort of difficult to separate sand from Gary. Okay, so go for a fresh one. Now, others are saying, no, let the existing one be there and let it be pruned. Now, that is why, for me, it is important that with the various positions coming, let the forum be organized and let us listen to those who have presentations to make. And it's not going to be only political parties alone, because Ghana doesn't belong to only political parties.
Do you feel sincerely that the EC is intended in listening to a request for a new register?
Well, the point is that I cannot say until the workshop is held, so they take their own decision. Let's wait for them to hold their the workshop, and let's see the views that are articulated there. But let's note that the call, let's not pretend that some people or some other people behind the scenes or people we don't know have undermined the voters register. It is the political parties themselves. So the point is, if you are calling for a new register, are we at the same time prepared to put in place mechanisms that would keep at bay those who have always undermined the integrity of the register? Because yes, the register, the integrity of the register may have been undermined now. You're calling for a new register, but are we prepared to ensure that we do not send minors there to go register? Are we prepared to ensure that we do not ourselves send aliens there to go and register? If we are not putting in place mechanisms to check MPP from doing that and to check NDC from doing that, then you would call for a new register, but the integrity would also be undermined.
That's a very
Interesting.
valid
I've
point.
got to move on, really. We're running out of time here. But I also need to let you know, as always, that Bank of Africa is the bank that you can rely on for the easy banking that you require, the convenient banking that you require. You can bank with Bank on Africa, Ghana. You can access SWIFT money transfers via Western Union, MoneyGram, and Worry. Bank on the go with their electronic banking products, that's B-Web and B-Mobile, and also you pay your fees and utility bills. Now that's value for your time. Bank of Africa is all over the country, so just get to any of their branches. They are strong as a group and close as a partner.